California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill into law prohibiting all local government in the state from requiring voters to show any ID of any kind. He's literally prohibiting it because apparently, at least according to the state's attorney general, doing so flies in the face of the principles of free elections. But why? Look, you can say that you don't think they should be mandated. I happen to think voter ID makes a lot of sense. There are only 14 states, I think, in the country that do not require voter ID. But look, there's at least a legitimate argument. But outlawing asking for ID? The bill's a response to Huntington Beach, where residents in the city of around 200,000 passed a ballot measure to allow ID requirements in municipal elections starting in 2026. So not even this year's election, all right? And the Attorney General and the Secretary of State sued the city over it. Huntington Beach has not yet responded to the complaint, but in the meantime, Democratic state senator introduced this bill. Newsom signed it. The bill says, now it's a law, a local government shall not enact or enforce any charter provision, and that'll be relevant in a moment, ordinance or regulation requiring a person to present identification for the purposes of voting or submitting a ballot at any polling place, vote center, or other location where ballots are cast or submitted unless required by state or federal law. Meaning, for now, it's a total ban on asking for voter IDs, preventing a local government from enacting rules that were approved by the voters in the city. State Senator Dave Mins said when introducing the bill that we cannot have 100 different charter cities making up 100 different sets of voting rules based on fringe conspiracy theories. Look, it's not a conspiracy theory to want to enhance faith in our elections by requiring ID. I always find it weird in New York when I don't have to prove I am who I say I am, right, when I go to vote. Now, officials in Huntington Beach, a Republican city and a Republican county, are outraged by this. Joining me now is the city attorney there, Michael E. Gates, who apparently doesn't even intend on complying with the new law. I don't see exactly how he's going to be able to do that, but let's ask him how it's going to work. Thanks very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, so you are not going to comply with the law. How is that going to work?
Well, basically, as a charter city, Huntington Beach is entitled to manage its local elections. It's baked into the California Constitution. What Newsom just recently did with this new bill is basically say, as you said, that that voter ID is banned, but that's inconsistent with the California Constitution. And the legislature, the California legislature, can't legislate away constitutional rights or it would render the Constitution meaningless. This new law is in response to Huntington Beach really taking a bold position in March by putting it to the voters and asking the voters, do you want these elections integrity measures put in place in Huntington Beach? And the voters overwhelmingly said yes. That is our constitutional right. As I said, it's in the California Constitution. Not sure how Newsom thinks he can get away with this. If he wants to take the control of local elections away from charter cities, then he really needs to have a constitutional amendment to the California Constitution. He can't just simply pass new legislation.
So what happens now? I mean, they were suing you to prevent you from doing this. They've now passed this law. What happens now?
Right. So in April, the state sued Huntington Beach, claiming that its new ballot measure, which passed, the voter ID requirement, was illegal. Yet then they turned around and created a new law to make it illegal. So the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing in Sacramento. We're going to continue to implement our voter ID and elections integrity measures. And I guess we're going to have to deal with Newsom in court on this new law. But I think it's pretty clear, it couldn't be clearer, frankly, that the California Constitution allows us to do this. Now, David Mins says you can't have 100 cities doing 100 different things. Well, is he going to tell that to other large cities like Santa Ana that are considering allowing felons to vote, considering allowing non-citizens to vote? I mean, there are cities going out and doing their own thing all over the state of California.
Yeah.
Those two are also charter cities. So we're not allowed to have voter ID, but they're allowed to go out and completely buck the system and allow felons and non-citizens to vote. That seems awfully clear double standard.
Yeah, well, it's a fair question. I want to read a line from the lawsuit filed against you. This voter ID measure conflicts with state law. Not only is it a solution in search of a problem, laws like these are harmful to California voters, especially low-income, the elderly, people of color, those with disabilities, and young voters. Quick response to that?
That's a decades-old argument. That doesn't exist. People of color, these people want, all people want voter ID. All people want to be able to show their ID at the polling place. Nobody wants somebody who's not eligible to vote to be voting in the first place. So that's a decades-old argument. And I think we're going to easily win in court. The elections code that they cited in their lawsuit literally says that you're required to verify your address and who you are when you go to vote in person. So we're actually furthering that elections code that they cite. So I'm just not sure how all this stacks up in the state's favor on this.
I'm going to actually invite the person on you were talking about who's been saying about the 100 different places. I want to ask him the question that you just laid out. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.